Today on 21st Century Business, explore state-of-the-art technology, innovative business strategies, insights from cutting-edge corporations around the globe, a visionary look into the answers of tomorrow, today. Business leaders, business solutions, 21st Century Business.
Welcome to 21st Century Business. I'm Jackie Bales. Optimizing business operations, creating effective advertising, and optimizing pricing strategy are just a few of the business challenges that retailers, hospital systems, and major manufacturers face on a daily basis. The struggle for them is not usually a lack of ideas or options, but the vast variables they have to weigh just to get to the best solution. QualPro Inc. is a management consulting firm that has developed a process that leverages big data to address and solve these complicated business problems. Joining our discussion, we have with us Vice Presidents and Principals Ken Holland and Art Hammer. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jackie. It's great to be here.
Good to be here this morning.
Ken, could you tell us about the biggest difficulties major brands and retail companies face when looking to improve their business?
Well, Jackie, large retailers and big brands spend hundreds of millions of dollars on advertising every year. And today, there's more and more communication options available to them. So the question is, well, how do they spend those large advertising budgets to increase sales and margins the most?
So Art, tell us a little about QualPro's big data MVT process and how that helps these companies best use those limited dollars.
Well, what QualPro's big data MVT process allows a client to do is go into their many different channels of advertising in whatever depth and breadth they wish to, and enable them to separate the wheat from the chaff, what factors really do work, which forms of advertising really do communicate to their customers and make the cash register ring. And discover those places where they can stop spending or cut back dramatically because it's not having any beneficial effect, or discover the counterintuitive of here's an advertising that we're spending dollars on that's actually helping our competitor.
Oh, ouch. Well, let's see this process in action in this 21st Century Business Field Report.
Since 1982, QualPro Incorporated has been helping businesses achieve dramatic breakthrough business results. Through the use of big data and advanced statistics, the QualPro team can accurately discover the best direction for a company to head. Founder and CEO Chuck Holland explains.
QualPro's been doing big data analysis for over 30 years. We were doing it for decades before anybody else ever heard of the term big data. We use QualPro proprietary software for most of our big data analysis. We spent 20 years developing it so that now it's dynamic, real-time. We can do it well and we can do it in a hurry.
Taking the guesswork out of possible business strategies lies at the heart of QualPro's MVT process. An additional element to QualPro's revolutionary process is the implementation of media mix optimization projects.
We always recommend to the clients that we do the MVT after we do the big data analysis. We come up with several things we can implement right now from the big data analysis. We come up with a whole bunch of things that, well, that might help, but we can't say for sure that it'll help. And we combine those things with brainstormed ideas for improvement that we get from the people that work in the company. And we do the MVT. We get about 25% of the improvement from the big data analysis and about 75% from the MVT.
Since 1982, QualPro has assisted more than 1,000 companies achieve breakthrough improvements in quality, production, and profitability using their MVT process. These companies include Phillips 66, Lowe's, Firestone, AutoNation, and Big Lots.
Our people, down to that tire technician, got so into being involved in it. They got so much out of just thinking the company was listening to their ideas. And they had an opportunity to impact the future. The lift was $33,000 per store in sales and $22,000 in margin. That's huge. Bottom line, we saw an 8.1% growth by implementing the 6 factors.
Based on the findings, our GM ROI, or gross margin return on investment, was 14 to 1. That's a pretty big number. We are the best performing retail stock on the New York Stock Exchange.
The revisions that we're making in the media mix next year will increase our advertising effectiveness significantly and lower our advertising cost by nearly $50 million next year.
Having conducted over 16,000 business improvements for more than 1,000 companies, QualPro's clients have seen billions of dollars of positive financial impact. Proof that QualPro's big data process generates big results.
Ken, how long has QualPro been in business and how did it get started?
Well, QualPro was founded back in 1982, and so we've been around for over 30 years now. And during that time, we've helped some of the largest corporations in the world solve some of their biggest challenges.
What retail companies and major brands do you work with? Who are some of your biggest clients?
Well, we've worked with big retailers like Lowe's and Big Lots and Saks, Fifth Avenue would be another one, and Rent-A-Center.
Wow. So really you're running a broad spectrum of clients then.
It
That's
really
amazing.
is, yes. Really is.
Art, how quickly does QualPro get results for their clients?
Many people find it very surprising how quickly we get the results. From the day we walk in the door until the day that we are able to give them results that they can immediately implement with confidence is typically 3 months or less than one fiscal quarter. So in fact, a chairman could have had a not so good meeting with the board of directors, and before his next meeting, he can already have results to implement.
That sounds good. Can you give us a more detailed description of the big data MVT process? How does that work?
Well, first, we take all of their data from whatever sources. We can use everything from their sales information to their historical advertising patterns to their historical pricing patterns. And unlike some others, we can also combine with that new things, fresh ideas that they want to try. So we can combine the old, the new, and the competitors' information and the general economic information to come out with the very best results for them in a very short time.
Can you give us an example of a big data MVT project?
Yes, as an example, in advertising, we have taken situations where we have got the different vehicles like television, preprint or FSIs, the direct mail, the modern electronic data or social media, and we can actually measure the ROI of each one of those components and in combination with each other. And then we can dig into a specific one like the FSI and what size font we should use. Should there be 3 items on the cover or 5 items on the cover? Should we push pricing on the cover or no pricing on the cover? Live models versus cartoon characters. All those things can be tested in a single multivariable test big data project.
And how exactly are you getting those specific results with this testing? Are you testing in various markets, testing different things in various markets? What are you doing?
Okay. Well, there's 2 distinct pieces. One of them is the analysis of their historical data, which requires no new testing. So we're taking the records of their operations nationwide or even globally, because we have clients that are working on a global basis. And then if we do the multivariable testing piece on top of that, then we would have a sampling of the combinations. If you were to just think of 30 new ideas, there's literally over 1 billion mathematical combinations. But in as few as 32 markets and as short a time as 4 weeks, we can actually separate the wheat from the chaff, which combinations are optimum.
That's amazing. Now let's talk specifically about improving advertising effectiveness. Can you give us an example of how you do that, Art?
Using factors like we just talked about with the preprint and the TV and the radio and the billboard mix and so forth, we can actually measure the ROI. How much is billboard worth? How much is radio worth? Is radio best when done with a live disc jockey, or is it best when done with a script? And from those things we can actually find the combinations. And that's the critical part, is the combinations that work. It's not a single silver bullet, it is the combinations that make the difference.
So for instance, a retailer that may be targeting a young audience, then that would be really key in the types of channels that you use.
It very well can be key to that, but also you can find the counterintuitive. I have got a product that I have targeted toward the under 30 or under 21 and find out there's actually an interesting market in it for the 40 and over.
Oh, really?
So finding the counterintuitive is a very important part of improving your competitive advantage.
That's fascinating. Now, Art, you also help clients optimize their pricing strategy. How do you handle that?
Okay, well, pricing can actually take two very different approaches. You can actually take individual products and say, do I price them at $10.99 or $12.99? You can take them and look at them in combinations and in categories, okay? Ladies apparel and using one pricing strategy for that in a department store as opposed to the children's or the accessories and things. But you could also use it where you're focusing on what is the competition and what is the market environment. And when do I change my prices? How do I respond to a competitor? How do I communicate it? Do I always have my gasoline price end with a 0.9? Or do I mix it up a little bit and have it end with a 0.7 just to throw the world?
That would be unusual, unheard of. Ken, what are some of the improvement ideas that retailers and major brands are typically testing?
Well, they're testing all kinds of areas. I mean, Art talked about some of the traditional media that we're testing. We're looking at TV, radio, print, all those kinds of things. So we may be testing new headlines, we may be testing different times of day that we're broadcasting that media, all kinds of things with advertising we can test to see what works the best.
We've even tested changing company or brand names.
Oh.
And you got to be careful, because if the founder of the company has his name on it, that's probably not one worth testing.
Right, right. I can see your point. Now, does your big data MVT process find solutions that sometimes could be surprising or are counterintuitive to what your clients normally believe?
Well, as an example, we had one client who their whole world was based on putting price in all their ads. But what their true value proposition is not price. And in fact, removing the price from the ads, which seemed very odd to them, greatly improved it, because when customers actually looked at the ads, their ad was actually an advertisement for their competitor, because their prices were always the highest prices. It sent a wrong signal on the true value proposition of their product.
So Art, overall, what can QualPro's big data MVT process really do for a company?
Every year we hold an annual symposium where our clients come and speak to the projects they've done and the successes they've had and how it's affected their bottom lines. At this year's symposium, we had the president of one of the largest retailers in the world make his results. We have done over 50 different projects for him over those years, and he reported that in that length of time he had not had a single failure. Every single project was a success, and that he had over a 100x ROI on those projects.
Wow. Wow. So clearly you were responsible for them remaining one of the largest retailers in the world then, sounds to me like.
Maybe even growing.
That's amazing. So Ken, with all this success, where do you see QualPro in 5 years?
Well, as companies need to show what their return on investment is for their advertising dollars more and more, then I think they're going to turn to companies like us, our kind of process, to help them understand where it is they need to be investing those dollars.
And there will be a shakeout as those people who claim they can do improvement and actually do not produce results that the financial community can find, and as they fall by the wayside, then those people who can truly produce results that the stockholders and the corporate executives can find, they will come to the forefront.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing QualPro's big data MVT process with us today and for joining us here. This has been fascinating.
Thank you for having us, Jackie.
Thank you for having us here.
For 21st Century Business, I'm Jackie Bales. Thank you for watching.